And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
Good morning, Car Clinic affiliates. Your Car Clinic minutes for the week of December 19th, 2016 are about to head your way. So go ahead and press that record button. As always, thank you for listening to and broadcasting Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Have a great weekend.
Hi, I'm Bobby Likis with today's Car Clinic Minute. If your personal Santa has put an all-terrain vehicle under your tree, hold on, Easy Rider. Before you hit the snowy trail, I'll tell you how to keep your off-road excursions merry and bright when I come back. I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol. American ethanol producers are fully engaged in the race to the next generation. Since the ethanol molecule is identical across sourcing types, many existing ethanol biorefineries are exploring bolt-on technologies that will enable production of ethanol from both grain starch and cellulosic material at the same facility. I'm Bobby Likis with 20 facts about ethanol, brought to you by the Renewable Fuels Association. Before you go over the river and through the woods this season in an all-terrain vehicle, consider this. Last year's data indicates that almost 114,000 spent time in emergency rooms due to ATV accidents. So before you hit the trail, let the ride principles prevail. R. Read the owner's manual. Really. I. Inspect equipment for defects or abnormalities. D. Don't take chances. Always wear a helmet and other protective gear approved by the Department of Transportation or certified by an even more stringent spec, the Snell certification. And E. Enroll in an ATV safety education program. Ho, ho, ho! Happy trails! I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us. Hi, I'm Bobby Likis with today's Car Clinic Minute. Want to be more popular than Santa at holiday festivities? While you're standing under the mistletoe, wow fellow partiers with this automotive version of the name game when I come back. I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol. From Secretary of the Navy Ray Mabus. Every time the cost of a barrel of oil goes up $1, it costs the U.S. Navy $31 million. But it's costly in more ways than just money. For every 50 convoys of gasoline we bring in, we lose a Marine, killed or wounded. That is too high a price to pay for fuel. I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol. Brought to you by the Renewable Fuels Association. Heck with those reindeer games, Rudolph. This automotive name game will impress even Vixen. Fiat isn't the name of a person, but of the Italian company that makes cars. Fabbrica Italiana Automobili Torino. F-I-A-T. Volkswagen is German for people's car. Mercedes, as in Mercedes-Benz, was a daughter of the consul who had rights to sell Daimler's cars in several European countries. And Volvo is Latin for eye roll. Now, happy mistletoeing. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us. Hi, I'm Bobby Likis with today's Car Clinic Minute. On the first day of Christmas, my true love gave to me a partridge in a pear tree. Not this year. When I come back, I'll share some cool automotive gifts to shop for. I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol. E15 as a choice at the pump benefits engines of today's EPA E15 approved vehicles. The first gas station offering an E15 alternative to drivers of light-duty vehicles, model year 2001 and newer, opened its E15 pumps to consumers in Lawrence, Kansas in July 2012. I'm Bobby Likis with 20 facts about ethanol, brought to you by the Renewable Fuels Association. This holiday, skip the partridge and give your true love something to really sing about. On the third day of Christmas, give a gift for the car connoisseur. Fill a pail with 3 things automotive: a high-quality wax, a chamois, and an IOU for a winter wash and shine. On the second day, stuff the stocking of your driving-aged kid with 2 gas cards. And on the first day of Christmas, wrap up one car cover made from Block-It fabric by Kimberly Clark. Or better yet, let the Block-It cover be the wrapping for your special someone's brand new car. I hope my true love's listening. Hint, hint. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us. Hi, I'm Bobby Likis with today's Car Clinic Minute. 'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the car, children were squirming and squealing, "How far?" When I come back, some on-the-road boredom busters. I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol. According to economic research firm Cardno Intrix, the ethanol industry added $42.4 billion to the U.S.'s gross domestic product, and the production of 13.9 billion gallons of ethanol supported 90,200 direct jobs and over 311,000 indirect jobs across this country. I'm Bobby Likis with 20 facts about ethanol, brought to you by the Renewable Fuels Association. On holiday road trips, are your little angels singing, "Are we there yet?" in 3-part disharmony? Then try these travel tips from the big guy himself. No, not Santa, me. For word fun, play letter lingo. Players first look for A words like artificial Christmas trees, then B, bright lights, then the C, Hanukkah candles, and so on. For something melodic, host a family sing-along. The youngest elf in the back seat starts a holiday song, and where that person leaves off, the next player picks up. And for a sure way to banish boredom, count your blessings. That should take you singing all the way to your holiday destination. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us. Hi, I'm Bobby Likis with today's Car Clinic Minute. On the first day of Christmas, my true love gave to me, do you remember? Yes, a partridge in a pear tree. What does a partridge have to do with cars? When I come back, I'll tell you all about it. I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol. Americans are outspoken when it comes to choice, so why not at the pump? Opponents claim that drivers will be confused with choices like E15 and E85. This objection is confusing, as studies show that Americans do want a choice. Soon, blender pumps will empower consumers to tailor fueling options to include the ethanol level best suited to their needs. I'm Bobby Likis with 20 facts about ethanol, brought to you by the Renewable Fuels Association. Little did that partridge know she'd be the star of Car Clinic Minute. Yes, the feather of a partridge can help save your life. How? Think tires. Lightly rub your hand clockwise around your tire's outside perimeter. Now, counterclockwise. If, like a feather, the surface feels smooth one way and ruffled the other, your tires have had it, and your car's out of alignment. So, on the second day of Christmas, my true love gave to me a brand new set of tires and an alignment. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us.
Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 3-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 1-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 30-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 10-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll-free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
And thank you, Barry White. Good morning. Welcome to this edition of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Right along with me this hour, and I'll answer your car questions. I do have some information for several of you from last week that had a question about their air conditioning system that would set to cool, and when it reached the selected temperature, it would automatically go to heat. And it seems that with automatic temperature control, some of those functions are normal. Not that I'd like it, but I have some information. So if you were one of the callers last week, you're going to want to stand by. I also have gas prices for this week up in 8 of the 10 regions across the country from same time last week, and up in all 10 regions same time last year. And we have a special guest. Jim is going to be reporting from Detroit, our Car Clinic reporter. This segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you by Stant Corporation, makers of the Super Stat. Reach for the thermostat professional installers prefer. That would be yours truly. And learn more about the Super Stat and Stant's entire collection of aftermarket caps and thermostats. Where? At Stant.com. And our good friends O'Reilly Auto Parts. Looking for the perfect gift this holiday season? Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts. They have the perfect gift ideas to fit any budget. Or O'Reilly gift cards, perfect for that hard-to-buy person. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Your calls when I come back. 888 Car Clinic. Don't touch that dial.
O'Reilly. Looking for the perfect gift this holiday season? Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts. We have great gift ideas to fit every budget. Have someone hard to buy for? Try an O'Reilly gift card. They're available for any amount and can be used at any O'Reilly Auto Parts store or online at O'ReillyAuto.com. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better prices, every day. O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Spending more time at the pump? Vehicle warm-ups taking longer? Maybe time to replace your engine's thermostat. Your engine's ability to reach and maintain proper operating temperature is key to better fuel economy, optimum performance, and lower emissions. Stant's Superstat features heavy-duty springs to return the thermostat to the closed position and prevent cold running, and Superstat's unique design more accurately meters coolant until desired engine temp is reached. For more reasons to choose a Superstat, drive to Stant.com. I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol. Improving ethanol production efficiencies in concert with new farming technologies means the energy benefits of ethanol continue to grow. In recent research, the U.S. Department of Agriculture determined ethanol's energy balance to be 1.7 to 2.3. That's to say, today's ethanol production yields nearly twice as much energy as it took to create the gallon. Also, ethanol's chemical composition means a more complete, cleaner burn of fuel in vehicle engines. Increasing ethanol use in gasoline is directly leading to cleaner air and fewer toxic tailpipe emissions. In 2011, ethanol use reduced tailpipe CO2 equivalent emissions by 25.3 metric tons, equivalent to the emissions of 4 million vehicles. I'm Bobby Likis with 20 facts about ethanol, brought to you by the Renewable Fuels Association.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Rosie Outfitters, I'm Tina. How can I help you?
I'd like to place an order.
Great. Which item?
The cotton roll neck sweater, large.
Okay. Periwinkle, loaded, or caramel?
The caramel, please.
The what?
I'd like it in caramel.
Oh, the caramel?
Yeah, that's what I said, Tina.
Actually, you said caramel when it's pronounced caramel.
Can't we just call it yellow?
No.
Everyone knows the best part of a Milky Way. They just don't know how to say it. After all, it's our caramel.
It's caramel.
Ugh, that makes a Milky Way great.
You start my morning, you stir in my soul, you warm my heart, make me feel whole. Your aroma calls me, starts my morning, happy morning. Your name is Folgers Mountain Grow. Now you're here, your aroma helps me wake, and the day is mine to take. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
Okay, let's get started with this hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. We have a guest in the house this morning, and I think it's going to be a very interesting show. I have a lot of information for you. Kia, a gas mileage feat that you'll really enjoy hearing about, because the automobile that produced this particular gas mileage will be available at Kia showroom floors in 2017, which is right around the corner, as you all know. We have Eric from New York with a natural gas question, and that's going to be interesting as well. I can't wait to talk with Eric. Eric, I'll be with you after we go to Detroit first, because Jim called in first. He's a Car Clinic reporter. I see Kelly from Kansas, and here's the drill. Miss Jan will take your call, 888 Car Clinic. That's 888-227-2546. I'll repeat it for you. 888-227-2546. Put you in the queue, and then I will put you on the air. So let's kick off the program. First in, first up, Jim. And a good morning. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Glad to have you in the house.
Well, glad to be in the house all the time, Bobby. You said one Christmas you got an alignment for your car tires. For 42 years, my wife keeps me in line every day.
And don't you forget it.
I dare not to. All right, let's get to the cars.
Okay.
All right. The biggest news for me is the improvements in the cars and the last options in Tesla. At the end of this year, you will no longer, when you purchase a car, starting in 2017, be able to get a free charge from your car. You might get a charge from the compliments of your friends who look at it, but you're not going to get a free charge to make the engine run for free. That's out the window.
Well,
so that's something to be aware of.
I think that was just a good introductory offer, and I wondered how long. You know, at some point in time, you and I have talked about this, Elon Musk has to make that company, not necessarily Elon, but Tesla has to turn a profit, and they have to build a lot of cars. And right now, they're sort of, would you say, Jim, they're sort of flying by the seat of Wall Street's pants?
I would definitely agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah, and they're doing a darn good job. You have to admit that.
Well, I do indeed. By the way, improvements in Tesla are flowering out to other car companies. Nissan's car would only do 73 miles on a charge, and they know that's too short unless you live around the block from where your home is to where you go to work. So every car company's out there to do what Tesla's doing. The automatic snake charger that when you back your car into the garage or it backs itself in, the snake charger goes to your car and electronically plugs itself into your car to charge it up. The only way to go now is make it with the snake.
So it docks itself.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, not to belabor this, and I want to hear more car news, but I have a vacuum cleaner that also docks itself and runs on its own artificial intelligence. So every day at 11 o'clock, it leaves its docking station and vacuums my whole house, and then it finds its way back to after some 2.5 to 3 hours, and if it gets low on its charge, it will actually find its home, stay for 45 minutes or an hour and recharge, and go back out and finish where it left off. And I'll tell you, I didn't know the house was so dirty. And I say that, and it's one of those iRobot vacuum cleaners, and it really does work. What else did you bring us, sir?
Okay, Bobby, let's talk about some of the improvements. First of all, General Motors has the approval on the roads because of Governor Snyder to test the new driverless theory on open roads here in Michigan. And with the climate as cold as we have it right now, she said it's the ideal way to test they're going to use a bolt to be wired up like a driverless car. And when you test it that way in the climate that we have, it's going to prove the worst scenarios you can get in the cold winter weather like a storm we have every week lately. So you're going to have a car that will go through everything. Now, my quick response to that is if California gives a double take, you get the federal government discount on your car if you buy an electric car, and they give a state discount. If they really want to push state cars, why can't we get that double take in every state? And then sales would skyrocket.
I agree, and I think in addition to the $7,500 tax credit, Colorado, and I could be wrong, so our folks in Colorado, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but also gave an additional $6,500 state tax dollars. So you could buy a car that was 7, 6, 13, and 5 is $14,000. So that takes a $40,000 volt and brings it way down into the 20s, which is really where, you have to have a comfort level because if you're going to get into mass, you have to make enough of those cars. And the more cars you make like that, the lower the price comes. What else did you bring us?
Well, I know that story to be true, Bobby, because I follow that same thing that you did, and that's why I proposed the idea across the country.
I agree with you, and I think we shall see what we shall see. What else did you bring?
Okay, well, first of all, I want to brag a little bit about your show. Last week we talked about the winter tire. Now, yesterday on the news, whether it was my report on a nationwide show like yours or just a coincidence, they said those winter tires were selling like hotcakes.
Well, they just tuned in, that's all.
Yeah, that's it. They tuned in. It's another top of the hat for you and your show, Bobby, and where I can play my small part.
Thank you, sir. You do a great job. And, to that end, as we go through the technology that we're seeing and the increased technology, you're going to see even greater products that come out of everything that we're seeing and everything that the new car makers are doing. Any additional car news that you bring this morning, Jim?
Oh, yeah, I got some additional news, and I'm doing it all ad-lib today. The one additional thing is I checked yesterday to be right on top of it. They still haven't figured out a system for any makeup car to stop automatically at a red light. And I can't see where you could go where you're not going to hit red lights. And they've got to clean that up before we get the cars on the road in 3 years.
I agree. And of course, there are red light boxes at every corner where they can have transponders and the V to V, which is vehicle to vehicle or vehicle to the curb, and crash avoidance. So there's no question. And then they have been working on for quite a while what's called an emergency situation, where if you're in an emergency vehicle and you're traveling through 56th Street, let's say in Tampa, where I'll share with you a story a little later on about a privately owned airplane landed in 56th Street in Tampa. There's a story there that I learned just last evening. And so when this emergency vehicle approaches or is approaching the intersection, the signal's way ahead, so that intersection will change its light automatically. That's not rocket science. It's just a matter of who's going to buy the infrastructure, who's going to correlate all of the bells and whistles and all the ones and O's to put that together. But that's going to happen, just like red light cameras. Red light cameras right here in our own community. Gulf Breeze has red light cameras, and a company comes in, installs the red light cameras, and gives the city of Gulf Breeze a piece of the dollars that are collected for those that run red lights. And I'll tell you, you don't see people running red light cameras, and you don't see people running stop signs in Gulf Breeze, Florida. If you do, they're pulled over to the curb. What else do we have?
Okay, Bobby, the battery to charge your car is going to make two improvements. One is the battery cost is going to drop down lower, and the battery is going to be more powerful. What does that mean in the next 8 years, or maybe even less? That your car that's an electric will have the capability to charge up to a 500-mile charge.
Well,
which I think is fantastic.
Yeah, oh yes, you really do. You got to love that. And you're going to want to stay tuned, because I have some information about the Kia that I mentioned at the open of the program that I'll get into a little bit later on. We're fighting a hard break coming up. So finally, what else did you bring, sir?
Okay, finally, Bobby, the idea of improving cars never stops. But if you have an engine that's shaking, you don't go for an engine tune-up. You might have to check the support struts on your car. And I recommend a good garage like yours to do it properly because it's not safe to do it on your own.
Your check's in the mail, Jim. Hey, thank you so much. As always, it's a pleasure talking with you. Stay warm, or if not, stay in the house.
I will, because I don't want to get any more problems from my health anymore. I thank you on that
Okay, my
one.
friend. Always great to have you on the air with us. We'll see you same time next week.
All right, we'll see you Christmas Eve.
Sounds good to me. Thank you.
Okay,
Gosh,
bye-bye.
that is. That's right. Christmas Eve's coming up. Well, I'll see we have Eric and Kelly. We do have a hard break coming up. And so, Eric and Kelly, if you stay right there, I will promise to come to you. Now, folks, is an excellent time for you to call in. And this next segment at 888 Car Clinic, 888-227-2546. Now, with regard to what Jim was saying about battery-powered cars, get this. Los Angeles to New York City, using just over 4 tanks of fuel, 48.5 gallons of gas, mileage 76.6 miles per gallon. That just happened this week in a 2017 Kia Niro. It's an EX model, and it set a Guinness World Record for the fuel efficiency of a hybrid car being driven from coast to coast at 76.6 mpg. I'll tell you a little more about that and take your calls when I come back at 888-227-2546. Folks, we recently worked on an 03 Buick Park Avenue with a 3.8 engine. This vehicle had been a workhorse with about 190,000 miles and counting. That said, fuel economy had slipped from 24 mpg highway all the way to 19. On cold startup, the check engine light started flashing in addition to rough idling. Engine fuel trims pointed toward carbon issues. A quick scan revealed random misfire code P0300. The codes were cleared, and after a visual inspection of the ignition system and a fuel filter change, we added a can of Berryman B12 Chem Tool to a fresh tank of fuel. After a 400-mile round trip and a second can of Berryman B12 Chem Tool, fuel economy went right back to 24 mpg, and idle quality was restored. Many times, complex running issues are traced to carbon issues on today's vehicles. Fuel system maintenance today starts with simple tank additives as the first step in cleaning carbon from your engine. The next time your vehicle is sluggish or experiencing poor fuel economy, try Berryman B12 Chem Tool. Learn more at berrymanproducts.com. And now to the Car Clinic inbox. Mike writes, Bobby, driving in Seattle's rainy weather, I've lost traction in my car enough times to scare me. What tires should I consider when it's time to replace mine? Mike, if you're losing traction, now may be the time to replace your tires. A terrific choice is General Tire's Ultimax RT43 with its peak anti-slip design technology, which increases the number of biting edges for traction on slippery roads. And you won't have to guess or measure tread depth when it's time to replace these tires. The Ultimax RT43 features an integrated replacement tire monitor, which clearly reads, replace when a tire change is needed. And one more cool feature of the Ultimax RT43, early warning visual alignment indicator, which extends tire life by visually identifying vehicle misalignment. For more information about the Ultimax RT43, go to GeneralTire.com. That's GeneralTire.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
The airlines like to have sales. Summer getaway sales, holiday sales, winter sales. Truth is, at any moment, some airline somewhere is on sale with low fares to great destinations. Travelocity knows exactly what's going on, who's on sale, to where, and when, at over 700 airlines worldwide. We even have this nifty feature that lets you look at a calendar so that you can see exactly the days the great fares are available. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere. AOL keyword, travel.
Hun, guess my temperature.
It's 2 a.m. Go to sleep.
Come on, one guess.
98.
Higher.
Higher, 99.
You're getting warmer. Wait, I'm getting warmer.
Cold symptoms keeping you from getting a good night's sleep? Get NyQuil, the nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, stuffy head, fever so you can sleep better to feel better medicine. Use as directed.
One more guess.
100.
Yes. Tell her what she's won, Bob.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. That's me, right? So, well, folks, we have a guest in the house, so I was just outside the studio. It sure is great to have you here. We'll go to Eric in New York and take your call. And folks, we'll take your call at 888-227-2546. Eric, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Hey, Bobby. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.
Thank you. Thank you. Same back to you, sir.
I called you not too long ago about fixing my old lady's or what, and now I got my own.
Oh.
She had an or what underneath her hood, the UV joint or the universal joint in the steering column.
Right.
But I got a 2002 Chevy Express van, the 2500, and they had it on natural gas.
Mm-hmm.
Bought it at an auction, and I guess the tanks were expired, so they took the tanks out, and now it's running on gas. And I was wondering if there's any kind of additive or anything I need to put in there for maybe like carbon buildup and cleaning out the motor, or if there's anything that needs to be done when you're switching it over.
Well, not necessarily when you're switching it over, but when you're running carbon fuel, like the gasoline that you're running, carbon fuel is some pretty dirty stuff.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I dare say there's not a handful of consumers, and I'm a consumer, but I don't count. I'll be disqualified because I'm a car guy and I'm a fuel person, and I'm a huge proponent of ethanol fuels, which burns, leaves no traces. Of course, alcohol evaporates at 174 degrees Fahrenheit, so there's nothing left over.
Right.
It is the aromatics in gasoline, toluene and benzene that really causes a lot of problems in the carbon buildup. But more importantly, it is the PCV, the positive crankcase ventilation system, because think about this, Eric, the engine of today's cars breathes from its own bowels the oil vapors. And if you think about a commercial stove, think about McDonald's, and you look on the roof and you see where all that smoke comes from grilling hamburgers. And
Yep.
and so if you look underneath the grill, and even at your home, you'll see that oil slick. The same thing is true for your car. You don't see this, but there's a PCV system, a positive crankcase ventilation system, that draws those vapors from the oil pan, which is where all that action is, and the crankshaft's going around, a lot of heat, a lot of pressure, and that pressure comes from combustion that has what's called blows by the rings, and so that pressure has to go somewhere. And what the manufacturers do to relieve that pressure, otherwise it would blow all the seals out, that puts it back into the intake of the engine. So the very pressure that's created in the crankcase goes into the intake manifold, and it becomes an oil slick. And that oil slick, just think about this. If you wanted to show how dirty you can make a wall, and you threw dirt on it, and you blew the dirt off, it would be whatever dirt would stick on it. But if you put oil on the wall first and threw dirt on it, now you've got a coating of carbon there. And on top of that, if you got it hot and cooked that coating of oil and carbon, and that's exactly what happened. Now you do that over 1,000 miles, over 50,000, over 75,000. Now you've got what I call black lung disease, and that is inside the lungs of the engine. You've got carbon from the EGR, the exhaust gas recirculation, part of the emissions, and you've got an oil slick. So how do you get that out? You use a cleaner. You've heard me mention Berryman products.
Right, I heard it just before you got me on the air. I caught it, and this thing's only got 85,000 miles on it. It was a state vehicle. So
well, now's a perfect time for you to, in fact, just go to berrymanproducts.com, and what you'll find there is a litany of additives from the fuel all the way up to the engine oil, but specifically there's a Chem Tool 12, as I remember. But the Chem Tool is a procedure that they created years ago to make it easy for you to add their product to your car. And there's two different products now. You can use, there's a wet system, which means that you add a product to the gas. There's a dry system that means you add the product to the air intake. Because think about it, the injectors clean whatever they clean. Well, what does an injector clean? A port injector cleans the valve. That's where it's located. A direct injector doesn't even clean the valve because it's inside the cylinder. It sprays fuel inside the cylinder. So that doesn't clean the valve. So how do you clean the valve? That's upstream. The way you clean the valve is you have to go in through the mouth of the engine, just like dentists do, and that way that floods the mouth of the engine with, I say flood, it really fogs. And you use a fog because a lot of people say, well, I'll squirt some of this cleaner on the, say, stick your tongue out. Well, they open the throttle body of an engine and they spray what they can see. That's a waste of time. Throttle body, yes, clean the throttle body. But if you clean only the palate, if you clean only the tongue of the plenum chamber, what about underneath the walls of the chamber? What about the ceiling? What about all the intake ports? And we use, and Berryman has a product as well, we use a machine with the engine idling and up to operating temperature, a fog. And if you think about a real coast on a coast at night and it's really foggy, that fog, it just gets everything wet. And when it does, it saturates all of the black lung disease, and then as you run the engine, it dissolves that carbon and flushes it right through, and it burns out the exhaust, and it's harmlessly goes away. And I will say this, there's no way, regardless of whose chemical you use, that you're going to do one treatment on any engine that's accumulated 85,000 miles of black lung disease and clean everything out in one fell swoop. Because think about it, Eric. If it took 80,000 miles to build it up and you put a 30-minute process to take it out, you'd have to use some very powerful toxic chemicals. And it would clean it, but you also could possibly damage some of the brass or some of the aluminum or some of the phenolic, intake manifolds are made of plastic these days. So it's bigger than our bed box, as you can tell. Any questions?
Mm-hmm. No, I just wanted to make sure I wasn't going to start this thing up and mess anything up on it because, like I said, they took the tanks off of it because it was expired.
Right.
And we bought it at an auction. They couldn't get it started. They didn't know they had to push the gasoline button. So paid $100 for it and took it home and pushed the gasoline button and started it right up.
Well, now that it's yours, it's in your garage. You can tell them what you did.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Hey, thanks for calling and congratulations. Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas.
Okay, there you go, folks. That's a great idea. Let's go to Kelly in Kansas and then Timothy in Michigan. And folks, get your calls in 888-227-2546. We also are going to have Annalisa Bloom from General Motors that's already in the queue. And I'll ask her, if you don't mind, Fabio, ask Annalisa to hold on, and we're going to put her in the next segment, and we're going to learn about Maven. But in the meantime, Kelly, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Glad to have you in the house.
Well, good morning, Bobby.
Good morning.
I have a very quick question for you.
Oh, they all say
I have
that.
a 2000. Oh, yeah. This one is.
Yeah.
Okay. I have
Okay.
a 2000 Ford Explorer, and
Okay.
I think it has a 6-cylinder engine.
Okay.
And what my problem with it is when you're filling it up with gas, it seems as soon as you put in the gas nozzle to fill this car up with gas, it just clicks that nozzle off immediately.
Right.
You have to hold it by hand and slowly let it seep into the tank. If you try to lock it in, like the gas nozzles have, usually 3 degrees of force that the gas could go into the tank, even on the lowest one, it will go for just a few seconds and click off immediately. Now, throughout the summer, it's not so bad. But in the wintertime, when you're standing out there for 10 minutes or 15 minutes trying to get a tank of gas, it's actually very, very disturbing. Is there anything that I can do for this? Or
Absolutely,
is there no
Kelly.
problem?
That is not the norm. That car should fill as fast as the delivery system will pump the fuel, regardless of where you're pumping. And I'll tell you how that works. Imagine that you are pouring. Imagine that your sink, that you're pouring water down your sink, and you pour it as fast as you can. Well, there's air, but you're going into a closed container. Well, have you ever taken like Windex at home and sort of taken 2 bottles and made 1 bottle out of 2, and the problem was the bubbles come up and block you, and next thing you know, you're spilling all the Windex because the air rushes back out. I mean,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying there, right?
I do.
The
I do.
same thing applies to a gas tank. A gas tank that you're adding liquid fuel to, the air has to go somewhere. So what the manufacturers do is on the top of the tank, they put a smaller hose. That's not a 2-inch hose like the delivery hose, but a breather hose. They run that right up to where the nozzle is, but just inside where the cap goes on your gas tank. And that nozzle, and you don't see this, because you could if you knew where to look, but the bottom line is that allows air to escape while the fuel goes in. Without that, and so what I'm telling you is that you have a stopped up or restricted breather on the gas fill tank, and any shop can test that for you. And what you're going to find, sometimes there's kinks in there, and sometimes there's blockage, and sometimes the hose it gets an aneurysm in it, and so it blocks itself. But you do not have to live with that. That's not normal. It is fixable and shouldn't cost you a lot of money.
Well, I sure do appreciate that.
Let me tell you where to find a quality shop. I am a member of the Automotive Service Association, as a doctor is to the American Medical Association. You should go to ASA, as in Automotive Service Association, asashop.org. When you go to asashop.org and put in your address, or your computer will already have it there for you, then you'll pick within 5 miles or 10 miles, and you'll have 5, 10, 15 shops. Then you can determine which shop is most convenient for you. Then here's what's really great about this, Kelly. You call this shop, and you see how eager they are to help you over the phone, how receptive they are, how they treat you. And if they don't have time to talk with you over the phone because they're busy, they're not going to have time to talk with you when you go to their shop. So pick another shop that is professional and is a member of the ASA organization, which is asashop.org. You got it?
I got it.
Go do it. Thank you for your call. And folks, coming up, Annalisa Bloom from Maven, and I've already logged into Maven, and you'll hear more about that when I come back, and we'll take Timothy's call following hers. Stay with me. It's time for another Berryman Hestimonial, where everyday drivers share their experiences with products featuring Hest, Berryman's exclusive high-energy solvent technology. The result is a more complete combination of available chemical technologies. James was having all sorts of issues with his vehicle. It was lagging, choking up, dying at idle. One can of B12 Chem Tool, and a 60-mile round trip later, the engine was, his words, purring like a kitten. Learn more about Berryman products and their Hest technology at berrymanproducts.com. You wouldn't wear a summer shirt in the middle of winter, right? So why outfit your vehicle with tires that aren't designed for winter weather? General Tire offers a complete line of winter tires like the Ultimax Arctic, with a multi-angle sight system that maximizes snow, ice, and wet traction. The Grabber Arctic and Grabber Arctic LT feature General Tire's innovative Duragen technology that promotes confident stability, even wear, excellent braking, and responsive handling. For more, drive to GeneralTire.com. That's GeneralTire.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Waking up can be a chore, but mornings knocking on my front door. Know just what I'll do. Put on a pot of Folgers brew. Mountain grown aroma hits the spot. Helps me give all that I've got. An opportunity to start out smiling and happy. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
I'm privileged to be involved with Capstone Adaptive Learning, formerly known as United Cerebral Palsy, for over 25 years. Since 1953, Capstone has provided quality care programs for persons with developmental disabilities like autism, cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, and intellectual disabilities. Dr. Sherry White with her team are dedicated to Capstone's clients, and 100% of your contributions stay local to serve those in this community. Go to capstoneadaptivelearning.org to see the difference Capstone makes.
Technology moves at the speed of innovation, and today, that's lightning fast. So when you get your hands on the latest tech, don't forget to do the right thing with your old devices. Recycle them. The Consumer Technology Association and its members are making recycling your old tech device as easy as purchasing new ones. Just go to greenergadgets.org, type in your zip code, and you'll instantly find the responsible recycling location closest to your home. You'll also find lots of tips to simplify your recycling, like asking the store where you buy your new TV if they'll haul away your old one. Television sets, video game consoles, smartphones, tablets, they're all recyclable. Don't let them clog up your local landfill. Just visit greenergadgets.org. You're sharp enough to get the latest tech tools into your home. Now be responsible enough to get your old devices to the recycler. That's greenergadgets.org.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Great program today. Call with your car questions at 888 Car Clinic. As everyone knows, getting from here to there used to be quite vanilla. Drive your car, use public transportation, a taxi, or bum a ride with a friend. Now, getting there has gone in many different directions, including car sharing and ride sharing. With us on the Car Clinic hotline is Annalisa Bloom from Maven, the new car-sharing brand from General Motors. Annalisa, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Oh, it's a pleasure, Bobby. Thank you for having me.
I know that our Car Clinic listeners and viewers will be very interested in these emerging transportation alternatives. So tell us about Maven and how it works.
Yeah, absolutely. Maven is seamless car sharing. Basically, it takes everything you love about cars, which I know your listeners really appreciate and are really enthusiastic about, and takes the friction out of access. So we pay for gas, we pay for parking, we give you a seamless app experience by which you can reserve the vehicle as well as it serves as your key. So there's nothing more to do than just press a button and drive, which brings back that feeling of independence and enables you to get from location to location seamlessly. Right now we're in 16 cities with 3 products, a city-based offering, a residential offering, and then we're also offering car sharing for ride sharing. So if you've taken an Uber or a Lyft, chances are that one of our Maven vehicles may have been the vehicle by which you were taken in. So we're making car sharing easy and seamless for everyone.
And you're so right, car sharing is easy. 16 cities you mentioned. Give us an overview where Maven is available currently.
Absolutely. So we're in major metropolitan markets across the United States, including Detroit, Ann Arbor, Chicago, Orlando. We're also available in D.C., Boston, New Jersey. We have a residential program in New York City. We just launched express drive markets in Atlanta, Nashville, as well as Denver and Phoenix. And then we have some additional markets as well on the West Coast, including San Francisco, Los Angeles. So we are expanding. You know, we went from one market in Ann Arbor last February to now having 16 markets by the end of 2016, offering 3 different products. So I think, you know, the global growth is something that we're looking at next. We announced earlier this month that we would be expanding our residential offering in Germany. And, you know, being part of General Motors, a startup in GM, has many benefits, and that we're ready to scale. So it's all about delivering an experience that customers feel is different from the others in the marketplace. So we feature Chevrolets, Cadillacs, Buicks, GMCs, all upper trim level, all with the bells and whistles, or even the things that a gearhead would love, which would be, you know, souped-up engines and incredible powertrains. So whether or not you're someone who really enjoys being in a vehicle and that driving experience, or someone who just wants it to work right every time, our vehicles are well taken care of. They're nearly new. So I think a lot of the product distinction that we're seeing is enabling our growth, and why we're seeing so many people who are maybe came in through car sharing through other brands are quickly choosing Maven as their car sharing brand of choice, simply because of the great products that we offer.
Well, let's talk about that just for a minute. We're talking with Annalisa Bloom from Maven, the new car-sharing brand from General Motors. So, Annalisa, what's the difference between car sharing like Maven and ride sharing like Lyft and Uber?
Absolutely. The main difference between ride sharing like Lyft or Uber or car sharing like Maven is where you are as the individual. So in a ride sharing service, you're the passenger. And that's great if you're trying to go for short distances, you are meeting friends for dinner, cocktails, you don't want to have the responsibility of driving or parking. Whereas car sharing is really better suited for an application where you are the driver and you may be taking the vehicle to get a freelancing job, you may be taking the vehicle to go for a weekend skiing trip. The vehicle applications really are nuanced between ride sharing where you are the passenger and you have zero responsibility, or car sharing where you have all of the freedom and the ability to use the vehicle as if it were yours, because ride sharing would never ever fit that need.
Well, one question with regard to other companies on the market. What's the main difference between Maven and the car-sharing company like, for instance, Zipcar?
The main difference between Maven and the competitive set is really quality of product, in my opinion. When you look at the cars that Maven offers, high trim level, Wi-Fi, Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, they are all new or nearly new, versus our competition, which are using either off-lease or off-rental cars. They're a bit older. And I would say that when we came up with Maven, it really was with this idea that the car should feel like it would be something you would be proud to own. And that means that there's not a ton of branding all over it. There's not a big sign on the door. There's not all sorts of little warnings throughout the car that make it feel as if it's a rental. We want this to be something you'd be proud to pick up your first date in, or take your parents to a dinner to celebrate a promotion. So I would say the real competitive difference, when you look at price, we are a little cheaper, but it really comes down to phenomenal product that come with all the amenities that you would want to aspire to own.
And Lisa, from what you've explained to me, what a perfect opportunity if someone were in the market for a new GM car and really wanted to drive one but didn't want to take it on a 30-minute drive. They wanted to use it over the weekend so they could become familiar with what the offerings and how to make it work and those sorts of things, all the bells and whistles, as you said. What a great idea, provided that this service is available in their hometown, to actually have one of these cars and rent one of these cars. I presume these are rental units over the weekend so that they have their time in the seat. Sounds to me like that's a trend that just might work. What trends have you seen since Maven launched earlier this year?
What we're seeing in terms of trends is that the people who are reserving vehicles and using car sharing are already people who see the value in ownership. They just may not be able to actually either afford or park the car. So where we're placed in major metropolitan areas, these are places where a parking space costs as much as your apartment does, as well as looking for parking spaces to get to and from work. When we're talking to developers who are looking at building condominiums or building residences in large major metropolitan cities, they keep talking to us about reducing the amount of parking spaces, not just per resident, but per residence. So car sharing really is becoming an enabler to modern urban living. By giving freedom and access to transportation, we're bringing in more millennials than any other car brand within GM. So 74% of our users are between the ages of 36 and 18, whereas Chevrolet, the average age is 62. The places where we've put cars, Chicago, San Francisco, LA, New York, these are areas where GM's brand recognition, much less penetration, is well within the teens, if not lower. So by placing Maven in areas where we can get people acquainted with our brands, like the product, these are individuals that already see the value in having a car. And so we see natural adjacencies to the business, because should they move to the suburbs or become ready to own a vehicle where it makes sense in their life, and they've become acquainted with our product, they like the product, this is an awesome introduction to people who normally would not have sought us out. So we're seeing a lot of favorable trends, not just from a being present in a cultural sense, but really from a business sense. So here we are making relationships with people who normally would not have sought us out. And I think that long-term relationship building is something you can't even put price on. So we're really enthusiastic with what we've seen over the past 11 months in terms of people choosing the product, people becoming mavens, talking about the experiences that they're having that they wouldn't have had without access to a car. And that just continues to remind us that like vehicles do play a role in people's lives. People still do want individual transportation. They just want it in a way that's more convenient. And what better place than Maven to provide that?
Well, you've made a whale of a case. I know you're just a little bit biased, but what about just a tad? But what does the future look like for Maven? I mean, you mentioned, and again, as you were talking, I began to picture the genesis of new car buyers down the road. And so if we were to shift gears, which I'm doing right now, 5 years down the road, how many original Mavens do you think will turn into GM buyers?
You know, that's a question everyone's asking, and I don't really know that yet. And some of this really is so dependent on the individual and their lifestyle and life stage. All the research that we have regarding the millennial generation continues to support this 5 to 10 year, some call it a delay. I think it's more of an exploration, where they're deferring based on Gen X. They're deferring their life stages by 5 to 10 years. So if you're, 32, maybe you're still not married yet, you're still within your first, big girl job, not yet ready to settle down and have kids quite yet, whereas generations previous would have been on, kid number 3 by 32. So we're growing with this generation, and we're trying to best understand. But I think the thing that excites me most is that Maven really is hitting a chord not only with the, 36 and under crowd. We're seeing a complete adoption in areas like Ann Arbor with boomers. Boomers really have a phenomenal opportunity with car sharing to not only work within their fixed income and where they're moving on to, career 2.0, et cetera, but the freedom and flexibility of car sharing, I think, could be completely additive to someone who's now either snowbirding or have 2 places where they're residing. And making choices about still having mobility options, I think, is completely freeing. So, we're definitely tracking and being relevant with millennials, but I wouldn't discount the other generations, too, that can really take car sharing and make it work for them in whatever life stage they are.
Well, you certainly sold me. One final question, Annalisa, that would be a website where we can go for more information for our Car Clinic listeners and viewers.
Car Clinic listeners, I would love you to visit Maven.com and learn more about us. And the best way to engage with Maven truly is through our mobile app. So go to your favorite app shop, download the Drive Maven app, sign up. It's pretty seamless. And we'd love to hear from your listeners as to the experiences they or you are having with car sharing, and continue to learn and grow with them.
Fantastic. Annalisa Bloom from Maven, the new car-sharing brand from General Motors. That's Maven.com. The app, Drive Maven. It's available of course, for your iPhone and any other phones, I'm sure. Annalisa, great to have you on Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Thank you so much for sharing the information. Much luck to you. I'm sold. I hope to get you in the studio one day. And thank you so much again for your time.
It was such a pleasure. Thanks.
And, I'm sure that she would take a Maven to get here too, if she did, versus to fly. She would just say, okay, I'm going to catch me a Maven and catch a ride there. And folks, for your information, I have downloaded Maven app to my phone, and it's seamless. It's very easy to do, and that service is not available in my hometown, but it will be. And hats off to General Motors and to all the manufacturers for really opening the kimono and opening their eyes and their ears and continuing to bring technology right to our doorstep, literally. Let's go to Michigan. Take a call from Timothy. Timothy, thank you so much for holding. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Thank you, Bobby. Merry Christmas.
Same to you, sir. Appreciate your words.
I have a question about skip shifting, Bobby.
Okay.
I know you've told us that it's good for controlling the power you want and also gas mileage, and I've been doing it for years, decades. But then someone said, well, what are your synchros thinking of that? And I thought, I never really thought of that because, when I'm skip shifting up, I don't care. And then when I come down, I double clutch, so I rev match, which is part of the fun. But how do the synchros like skip shifting? Are they made just to do the gear above and below them? Can we hurt them if we're going more than one gear down or one gear up?
You already know the answer, but I don't know that I can say it any more eloquently than you. Going up, there's no problem whatsoever because the speed of the up gear, of course, synchronizers, folks, are nothing more than conical devices that match two gears that are traveling at different speeds. So if you're going from first to second, the second gear that is there waiting to be engaged is not running the same speed as the rest of the gears in the transmission or the adjacent gear. So a synchronizer, it's conical, it's like a brake, really, and it will catch that gear that you're going towards, and it will speed that gear up to match. And once the gears that are side by side match, there's a hub that slips right over. It's the same thing as a tooth and nail or a tongue and groove. Once you get the tongue and groove correct, it slips right together. So on the upshift, Timothy, there's absolutely no problem, no issue whatsoever. An issue would be, and I'll go to the dark side now and make a case and say, oh, you're going 30 miles an hour and you're going to go to second gear, which is that's a heck of a jump to go down to second gear. Or maybe you're going 25 miles an hour and you're going to put it in first gear. If you push the clutch in and you push on the lever hard enough, you really would put a lot of pressure on the synchronizer. But you see, those of us, like you, like I, we know better. So double clutching means that, folks, you put it in neutral, let the clutch out, wrap the engine like a trucker does, and that automatically speeds up that gear, and then it literally falls into gear. So there's no way that you're going to ever shorten the life or damage any transmission, standard transmission, by short shifting or by skip shifting. So, Timothy, you're right on the money. And I can tell you, my Viper gets 10 miles per gallon average in town, and I can drive that by skip shifting and get 30% increase at 13 miles per gallon. There's the end of the program. Timothy, thank you so much for your call today, and thanks for holding, like I said. And folks, we got another hour of Bobby Likis coming up, so you stay with me after the top of the break. Likis, you'll love us.
Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
Did you know that birthday parties help build confidence in kids?
Yeah. Did you know that giving kids less sugar before bedtime helps them sleep better?
Oh, totally. Did you know that friendly kids have more friends?
Everybody knows that.
Hey, guys, did you know that most people think they're using the right car seat for their kid, but they're not?
I didn't know that.
Parents who really know it all know for sure that their child is in the right car seat at the right age and size. Visit safercar.gov/the right seat to make sure your child is protected. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
This vehicle maintenance spotlight is brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Nothing's more important than your vehicle's brakes. Though there's no substitute for scheduled maintenance, also be on the lookout for signs of trouble, like your car pulling or a shuddering steering wheel. Trust the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts to help you choose the brakes that are an exact fit for your vehicle. Brands you trust like Brake Best Select, and Wagner Thermoquiet at guaranteed low prices. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
If you're familiar with the Kulseford section of the newspaper, you probably understand this message quite well. You see, in the Kulseford section, everything gets abbreviated. Consonants, vowels, prepositional phrases, the very building blocks of our language are thrown right out the window. And that makes it difficult when you're trying to sell your car. You've got a limited amount of space to work with, and by the time you abbreviate the description of your car down to a couple of fragmented sentences, it sounds less like a car and more like a Bluck sedan with sniffed like new condition lemals. No wonder more people are selling their cars through eBay Motors. They can post unlimited text and photo descriptions, and with a nationwide marketplace, they're likely to sell it for more. Plus, both parties can be covered by eBay's Vehicle Protection Program. Buyers are happy, sellers are happy, and no one's abbreviating. eBay Motors, a better way to sell your car.
Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 3-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 1-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 30-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Count down to 10-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
Thank you, Marty White. Good morning. Welcome to this edition of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Another great hour. Sit back and ride along with me this hour. Miss Jan is in the house. She would. Good morning, Miss Jan. I call her Tina when I'm far enough away that I think I can get away with that. And I may share that with you a little later on in the program, or not. In the meantime, it's a great time for you to call 888 Car Clinic, 888-227-2546. Miss Jan will take your call, put you in the queue, and I will put you on the air. This segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you by Power Frame Grid Technology. Batteries may all look the same on the outside, but it's what's inside that really matters. Power Frame Grid Technology is tested to be more durable and provides superior cranking power. You can learn more at powerframe.com. I personally put Power Frame batteries in my customers' cars, and I personally replaced the battery in my smart car with a Power Frame. I specifically chose a Power Frame not only because it's a great battery, but they hide that battery in that smart car, and you can't even reach it. There's no way, if it's dead, that you can even jump start the vehicle without taking the right floorboard out of the vehicle. So I don't want to do that. So I'll make sure I don't have to jump start it, and I use the Power Frame. True story. Now, I'm going to take a short commercial break. I'm going to come back and take your calls at 888 Car Clinic. When it comes to your car battery, you expect it to work. Turn the key and go. Thanks to Power Frame Grid Technology, you can count on your battery to be there start after start. Batteries with Power Frame Grid Technology provide superior cranking power with up to 70% better electrical flow than other grid designs. Look for the Power Frame logo on the outside of your next battery. It means true strength on the inside. Visit powerframe.com to find a retailer near you. That's powerframe.com. Are you looking for a tire that offers the perfect synergy of comfort, durability, and performance for your light truck or SUV? The Grabber HTS 60 features StabiliTread with a fatter footprint, optimized tread pattern stiffness, and improved tread compound for up to 25% more tread life than the original Grabber HTS. And General Tire's Duragen technology makes tires stronger and more resistant to cuts and chips. The Grabber HTS 60 also offers a 45-day trial. Learn more at GeneralTire.com. I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol. We Americans are outspoken when it comes to choice, whether it's menu selections or political elections. So why not at the pump? E15 and E85 provide an American-sourced alternative for vehicle model years 2001 and later and flex fuel vehicles, respectively. Opponents claim that drivers will be confused at the pump. This objection is confusing, as drivers have historically chosen among at least 3 different octanes and diesel. In fact, studies show that Americans do want a choice at the pump by a 3-to-1 margin. In the future, choices will be technology-enabled by innovative blender pumps, which will energize retailers and empower consumers to tailor their fueling options to include the ethanol level best suited to their need. I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol. Brought to you by the Renewable Fuels Association. Drive to ethanolrfa.org.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Another lending success story from LendingTree.com.
Car dealers like playing games. They play percentage points, they play markups, but I don't like playing with my money. So I got my auto loan through LendingTree.com. I filled out one simple form, a marketplace of banks and lenders competed over it, and I got 4 offers back within hours. After all, the car buying game is a lot easier to win when you're holding all the cards.
LendingTree.com. When banks compete, you win. For additional information and state license disclosures, please visit our website located at lendingtree.com.
Hospice isn't a place, it's a face. And Regency Hospice delivers more faces to you and your loved one when life matters most. Faces of nurses, nursing assistants, social workers, and chaplains. Regency's skilled, compassionate professionals deliver comfort and individualized care. When that time of life comes to you, Regency Hospice will be there for you. Go to regencyhospice.com for more, including Hospice for Heroes Veterans Recognition Program.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome to this hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. I think I'll ask a question of you, which is kind of a role reversal here. So this question, it's not a loaded question. The correct answer, I do have the correct answer, but I would not expect anyone to be able to answer it correctly. And so without further ado, I'll just share with you that where I'm going here is all about the connected car of the future. And of course, the connected car of the future means autonomous cars. And before you say, wait a minute, I don't know anything about that technology, this is really sort of simple. But the answer is surprisingly, it surprised me, so I think it'll surprise you. There, as you know, you've heard from me and from our car clinic reporter, Jim, and you yourself have called in the coming flood of data in autonomous vehicles. So here's my trivia question. The question is, how many data bits, and we'll call it gigabytes of data per day will be used to maneuver an autonomous vehicle? That's about as concise as I could present that question. So think about it, and here is where this information is used. Let me give you the number. Jan's going to, and if you don't want to play this game, if you have a car question, that's fine as well. But I find this so interesting because not only have we heard about autonomous cars, now we've actually got facts and figures about what that's going to entail. So Miss Jan will take your calls at 888-CAR-CLINIC. That's 888-227-2546. Put you in the queue, and you can give her the answer. I don't know who's on first or who's on second, as they say. The coming flood of data in autonomous vehicles, and here's what the data is going to be used for: GPS systems, LIDAR, which is the radar and mapping that's used to guide those vehicles, sonar, which you're familiar with sonar, radar, which you're familiar with radar. I mean, I sort of lobbed all that together, radar, sonar, and LIDAR, and GPS, but it's not, because each one of those technologies require X amount of data transfer. And that's where I'm going here. Collectively, how much data each day, per day, would an autonomous car, under normal circumstances, whatever that means, would be used? And then the last but not least are cameras. So we have cameras that use X amount of data, radar, sonar, GPS, and LIDAR. And I have the answer here, and I found it very interesting too from this article. It's about telemetry and telematics and the reshaping of an industry that I've been in for some 45 years. And that means that in order to sustain our position, and that our position is to take care of our customers' cars and understand what drives those cars, no pun intended, and how to repair those automobiles, we have to know what makes them tick. And in order to do that, we have to understand the technology. And I will share this with you. If you have a car that is 3 years old, let's fast forward. Let's say this is 2018. If you have a car that's 2 years old and it needs a taillight bulb because it burned out, and you take it to a shop and they replace the taillight bulb, that new bulb will not work in that car because the computer has been monitoring the old bulb and watched as it dimmed dim, 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 and finally the filament burned out. And all along the time that that bulb was burning out, the computer gave a little more voltage to sustain and maintain the brightness. Now, is that not cool? It's sort of like cooking on your grill, and you get low on the gas bottle, and so you turn down some of the eyes, and so you have a bigger flame. And of course, you can't put a lot of steaks or hamburgers on. Only got one grill. But that's an oversimplification. But that's exactly what's happening. So what we do know about the future of the connected car, which is what I'm talking about, is that by 2020, the OBD2 port, which, as you know, is the data port where we plug in and we extract information, but that will be no more than an ornament, because approximately 90% of all the new vehicles will be sending all sensor telemetry back to the OEM. Now, what does that mean? It means you're driving an automobile. I'll simplify this. It means OnStar. Then that's an oversimplification. But basically, you buy a new car, and that car is connected to OnStar, and OnStar is mapping that car as you drive. And you know, I shouldn't be surprised. I'm enamored by it. I'm excited about it, and I'm passionate about it. But I really shouldn't be surprised, because some 5 years ago, GM had a 30-30-30 test that they did. They found 30 owners, and they put out 30 cars, hydrogen cars, in 30 different markets. And they monitored those cars 24/7. They had a team of engineers, and if any hiccup happened, any glitch whatsoever in those cars, then GM knew about that and monitored those cars. And by doing that, it was called Project Driveway, as I remember. And maybe it was 4 or 5 years ago, but it was Project Driveway. And even when your car is sitting in the driveway, it was being monitored. And to that end, I was at SEMA one evening with Ken Lingenfelter. And if you're a Corvette person, you know who Lingenfelter is. And he didn't start that company, but he was a very wealthy real estate person. He bought it from his relative who did start it, and he just loves Corvettes. And if you want anything for your Corvette, high performance, he's the man. So he's out of the office. His general manager gets a call. Ken is driving a Veyron. You know what a Bugatti Veyron is, right? So it is Bugatti calling from VW. They own Veyron, Bugatti. They're calling and they say, we're seeing that there's a sensor on the transmission that indicates there's water intrusion in this particular serial number car. And he said, well, and he reached the general manager, and the general manager says, well, I don't know where Mr. Lincoln, I don't know where Ken is right now. He's driving the car. And this person in the UK says, oh, we know where the car is. We just want to know when's a good time to send the technician to replace this sensor from the UK to California. True story. And what was so strange about that is that, we're not looking for the car. We know where the car is 24/7. So that's what you're going to see. And I know that a lot of you say, well, wait a minute, this is an invasion of privacy. Yeah, it sure is. It sure is. So I guess that your home is going to be the only place that you have that's going to be private going forward. And to that end, in my car that I drove to the studio this morning is a transponder. And my insurance company knows how fast I drive, how sharp or how fast I stop, how hard I brake, how hard I accelerate, and all those things, and I get a discount for safe driving. Now, I'm only going to do this 6 months, and if I don't get a substantial discount, I'm going to send it back to State Farm. But in the meantime, I've got one I had one in all of my cars, and my wife says nobody's going to track me, and she took hers out, and I don't know what she did with it. I suspect it's along the road somewhere, or it may be attached to a dog like you see in the movies, and who knows. Let's go to James in Illinois. And James, you have a guess as to the data transfer that an autonomous car would create or use. Now, this is per day, each day, and this is camera, radar, sonar, GPS, and LIDAR. So what would be your guess? James?
Yeah, I figure about 1.3 gigabytes per hour is what I'm figuring, and then it's hard to judge how many hours a day.
Well, I agree with you, and that's why I said on a general day, an average day, and yet we don't really know what an average day would be like. So I don't know that I will, that's not the right answer, but I do have an answer, and it's for... Go ahead.
Pardon?
Say again?
Okay, 4 hours, I'd say that in 4 hours...
Where do you get 4 hours?
Well, I figure that's what an average person drives a day.
Okay. That's fair enough.
5.2 gigabytes a day.
How many?
0.2.
You're breaking up. I didn't hear the first number.
Okay, 5.2 would be my guess if on an average 4-hour day driving.
James, you stay right there. We have a hard break coming up. Folks, if you want to get in, 888 Car Clinic, 888-227-2546. Time to go to our Car Clinic inbox. Jim in Indianapolis writes, Bobby, I have a 2010 Ford Explorer, and it's taking more than 10 minutes for the engine to warm up, whereas it used to take 6. I hear you guys talking about Stant thermostats. What makes them so special? Thanks, Jim. You probably heard me talking about the Superstat in particular. Superstat is a premium-grade thermostat that performs better and lasts longer. The Superstat features heavy-duty springs that help return it to a closed position to prevent cold running. A larger heat motor helps control engine temperature, while a heavier gauge steel housing gives it a high-end feel. Just hold one yourself and you'll feel the difference. The Superstat is American-made and comes with a limited lifetime warranty. You definitely don't want to compromise when replacing your Explorer's engine thermostat. The Superstat helps maintain proper air-to-fuel ratio, which maximizes fuel economy, keeps tailpipe emissions in check, and provides optimal performance. Learn more about the Superstat at your local auto parts store or at stant.com.
Your car and your life have a lot of moving parts, and your car's battery is what keeps it all going. Here's something to keep in mind. While all batteries may look the same on the outside, it's what's inside that matters. So be sure to choose a battery with PowerFrame technology inside. It's stronger, more durable, and keeps you going longer. That means you can count on a battery with PowerFrame to be there start after start. Here's another reason to feel good about choosing a battery with PowerFrame inside. It's manufactured using the latest sustainable processes. You're moving fast, and you don't want anything to slow you down, especially an unreliable battery. So the next time you need to replace your car's battery, make sure you choose one with PowerFrame technology inside. Look for PowerFrame on the outside, and know there's true strength on the inside.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Telephone tip
from Geico Auto Insurance.
When calling Geico to switch your car insurance, you will not need acetaminophen, naproxen, indomethacin, ibuprofen, a cold compress, an on-call acupuncturist, or any other pain remedy. In 15 minutes, you could save 15% or more. If it were any more painless, you could do it in your sleep, which is theoretically possible since we offer complete 24-hour service. Call 1-800-947-AUTO, 1-800-947-AUTO. Geico Direct, the sensible alternative.
When you purchase the latest TV, tablet, or smartphone, don't forget to do the right thing with your old ones. Recycle them. The Consumer Technology Association and its members are making recycling your old devices as easy as buying new ones. Just go to greenergadgets.org, type in your zip code, and you'll instantly find the recycling location closest to your home. You'll also find recycling tips, like asking the store where you buy your new TV if they'll haul away your old one. Don't let your old tech tools clog your local landfill. Just visit greenergadgets.org.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. So here's the deal. We have a little trivia going on here, and you can certainly call in And James has a guess on the table. And what I'm going to do, James, is I'm going to list the calls that I get. I don't expect anyone to get exactly on the number, but the closest one to the actual number that is listed on this report that I have, I will send a Car Clinic prize pack, and Miss Jan will package that up Monday and send it to you. And included in that prize pack, Miss Jan, we still have cars. We do? Great. I'll send you a car, James, if you are the winner, that will take you anywhere you want to go, and you will not use any gas whatsoever. It's actually a car mouse, and so you can use it to drive your computer. It's the neatest thing you've ever seen in your life. The first time I saw one, I had to have it, and since then, we have bought cases of those car mice. So the question is, for autonomous cars, how much data will be used? And folks, you can still call and get in. And the trivia question is, how much data will be used each day, per day, to operate the radar, the cameras, the sonar, the GPS, and the LIDAR? And James, correct me if I'm wrong, your estimated guess was 5.2 gigs per day. And that's based on about 4 hours of use, which is about average. Am I right there?
Can I change that?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I'd rather change it. I mean, we're talking a total autonomous car, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'd like to change it to 100 gigabytes in 4 hours. 25 gigabytes an hour.
Okay, you sure you want to do that?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I'm positive. I was thinking of something else. But
well,
it would be 100 gigabytes.
Is that your final, as Chris would say on The Millionaires, that's your final answer? Because
yes, sir.
Okay.
That would be my final answer.
Okay. All right. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put you back on hold. Miss Jan's going to get your number. Stay tuned, and we will. And I'm going to close this out. It's 27 after the hour. I'm going to close it out in 5 or 6 minutes. So folks, you have time to get in, and make your best guess. And so James, Fabio, let's put James back on hold, and then Miss Jan will get his information. And folks, this is a great time for you to get in. I'm really sorry he changed his answer. But the question is, how many gigabytes of data will be transferred and used per day, each day, on an autonomous car? And quite candidly, it's estimated that vehicles will be capturing thousands of gigabytes of data each day, because they're sending that telemetry back to a centralized big data center for analysis. But this is not just for autonomous vehicles, it's for all new vehicles, and this is going to be seen by 2020. So what is that? Why do I bring that up? Because we're in the automotive service business, and this could affect all of the aftermarket automotive service shops. Why? Because the very cars that I'm talking about will be connected to and use these gigabytes of data connected to the car makers that make those vehicles. Now, the good news is, the bad news is that the dealers get that information before we. The good news is the manufacturers will be able to see in real time what's happening with those cars, and if there's a glitch or a recall or a car needs to be updated, they can do that in real time. Ironically, Elon Musk with Tesla is already doing that. Let's take a call from Dan in New York. Dan, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. You think you have an answer?
I do, Bobby.
Okay,
I think 1 terabyte would be about it.
1 terabyte. Okay. As I said, I'm going to hold this open for another 5 minutes, just for some fun. And it's toward the end of the year, and we've fixed a lot of cars over the air, and we've talked about. In fact, I do have some other data that I want to share with our listeners. I will put you, if that's your final answer.
Yes, it is.
Okay. I want to place you back on hold. So, Miss Jan, we'll take your information, and then we'll determine who the winner is by who's closest to the actual answer that I have. And this answer comes to me from, let's see, from LinkedIn. One of my contacts, it's Pulse Telemetry, Telematics, Reshaping Industry. and it's an article by Arnold Gold, which is very interesting. And I'll share this with you too. I see Jim from Nebraska is on. We'll take his call next. Arnold Gold, one of his favorite quotes is from Alvin Toffler. And get this, and for all you technicians out there, this is really important. The illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn, or, in the automotive case, to retool and reshape an industry. That's exciting. That is really exciting stuff. And that means that just about the time that you think that you know what's going on, somebody changes the rules. And that just means that as cars become more and more sophisticated, then by all means, you're going to see those cars in the showroom floors. You're going to be driving those cars. Let's go to Nebraska. Jim from Nebraska, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Jim Cutterback from Kearney, Nebraska.
Senator.
Well, there you. Hey, you got a good memory.
How are you, sir?
I'm fine, thank you.
That's great.
It's very cold here and icy, so we're staying in.
Well, that's a good place to be in, and it's a good place to be in-house. So welcome to in-house. What would be your guess for the data used on a per day, per car basis?
I would say about 4,000.
And is there a reason that you chose that figure? I mean, did you use a formula, or is that just a guess, or?
It's just a guess. I heard that one time, I don't know, a month or so ago someplace. It just kind of stuck in my mind, and that's just what I believe. I'm probably way off. I'm a politician, so I think I know everything.
Hey, speaking of politicians, I want to share this with you, sir, that I found really interesting. Donald Trump has chosen 3 company CEOs for his strategic and policy forum that will offer advice on issues such as job creation, technological trends, and the economy. And guess who they are? Number one, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Number one is Mary Barra, who is the CEO of General Motors.
Correct.
Number 2 is Travis Kalanick, who is the founder of Uber. And number 3 is Elon Musk. And the irony of this is that both Elon Musk and Travis Kalanick, Elon Musk with Tesla, of course, and Uber CEO, they were not on his side of the fence at all. And I find that just really interesting. But in a statement, Trump said the picks were all at the top of their fields, quote unquote. And I think that's very interesting. And I've often said, Jim, how interesting it would be, and I wonder what Elon Musk does from 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock in the morning, because he must never sleep. I mean, literally, he is an entrepreneur. He is a visionary. And you have to admire what he's doing. And he single-handedly, well, I won't give him that much credit, but he certainly has been the player in the EV world, in electric vehicle world. Would you say that would be correct?
I would say that'd be correct. You know, just because you don't agree with somebody on everything doesn't mean he's wrong on everything. So I think Trump understands that theory, and I think that's why it's going to work.
Well, we shall see. And we shall see. I'm going to put you and place you back on hold too, Senator, and Miss Jan will get your number. But do stay tuned, and because in another half a minute or another minute or so, I'm going to announce it. And I sure thank you for calling. And folks, I met Senator Cudahy in Cutterback in Kearney, Nebraska. We produced a live broadcast with Kappa Ethanol some years ago. We had some 350 people there. It was all about just the citizens of of Kearney, Nebraska. And then also there's a car show. And every year, Brad will call in, and Jerry, and Brad Kernack, I think that's his name, and he'll call in, and Jerry, and they will report live what's going on. And just for you to know, there's like 600 cars, and they block off the streets, the whole downtown. In fact, the fire department made them change where they parked the car so they could get through in case of an emergency. And so they had to leave a fire lane open, which makes a lot of sense. But I found that very, very interesting. Okay, so here we go. I think we've gone about as far as we go. There's a few more seconds that I want to go before I announce the winner. So I'll use that time to share gas prices with you. In the U.S., $2.24 a gallon average. This is gasoline, low grade, regular grade, 87 octane. It includes all state, local, and federal taxes. And the price of gas is higher than it was same time last year in every single region, all 10 regions of the United States. What's equally as important is it's also higher in 8 of the 10 regions from same time last week. So gasoline prices are on the upswing. The highest price on the West Coast at $2.56. The average price, $2.23.6. And the winner of the trivia is Senator Jim from Kearney, Nebraska. He guessed 4,000 gigs. I asked him where he got that number. And James from Illinois, you guessed 5.2. Your first answer was, I thought you'd win this. You guessed 5.2, and then you changed it to 100 gigs. But Jim guessed 4,000 gigs. The correct answer is 4,000 gigs. I found that really, he obviously saw that somewhere, and he too must have a fantastic memory. So I'll just quickly run through the list for you. So congratulations, Senator Jim from Kearney, Nebraska. We'll send you your own Car Clinic car, and you'll be able to drive anywhere that the internet will take you. So here's the rundown. The radar is from 10 to 100 kilobits per second. The cameras, 20 to 40 megabits per second. Sonar, 10 to 100 kilobits per second. GPS, 50 kilobits, and LIDAR, 10 to 70 megabits per second, or a total of 4,000 gigabits per day each day for an autonomous car. With that, I'll take a commercial break, and I'll come back and take your calls at 888 Car Clinic. Folks, we're testing an Intune i2 performance programmer from Diablo Sport, and we'll share feedback and results over the next few months. First is ease of installation. Directions were clear, and the setup was easy. The Intune i2 is preloaded with dyno and street-tested performance programs developed specifically for your car or truck, ensuring optimal power and drivability gains. From there, you can then customize a tune tailored to your own performance needs. What a great way to boost power without even popping the hood. Diablo Sport Intune i2 has a fantastic look and now features the latest generation ARM processor for a higher resolution screen and an exceptionally responsive touchpad. You can update your i2 software on virtually any computer. Windows, Mac, Linux, and update times are fast. Even the large updates take no more than 5 minutes. I'll report more to you about the Intune i2 in the coming weeks. In the meantime, check out the i2 for yourself at DiabloSport.com. That's DiabloSport.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
More than 1 million wild animals are killed each year illegally. Poaching is a major threat to our country's wildlife. I'm Tom Barry. I'm an actor with a desire to preserve living space for wildlife. The Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust does just that. Works with private landowners to protect wildlife, to preserve natural habitats. To learn more or to work with the Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust, call 800-729-SAVE. That's 800-729-SAVE, or visit wildlifelandtrust.org. Thank you.
Did you know 26 million Americans have kidney disease and most don't know it?
The day I was diagnosed, I didn't know what to do. I called the National Kidney Foundation, and the young lady who answered stayed on the phone with me and walked me through step by step. She too was surviving kidney disease, and she showed me there could be life after kidney disease.
Visit the National Kidney Foundation at kidney.org. Now you know.
We're a land of cynics. We don't believe anything anymore. You know why? Because we've been told we've won $1 million, that it's new and improved, that it slices and dices, that our favorite singer is still alive. that we'll be prosecuted if we cut off the tags, and of course that everything is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee. So when we hear the words customer service, we don't believe it. Travelocity isn't surprised if you're a little skeptical when they say they have excellent customer service, and that there's actually a pleasant face behind this website, a living, breathing person with a supercharged computer full of answers. Someone who's willing to help when you get lost, and most of all, someone that will actually pick up the phone when you call with a question or a concern. Customer service is just another example of how Travelocity puts you in control of travel. Chances are you'll never have to use it, but it's good to know it'll be there if you need it. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. I'll recap the winner of our trivia question. And I just thought it would be an interesting number to put out there. And the question was how much data would be used by an autonomous vehicle, and also not only autonomous vehicles by 2020, but other vehicles that are on real-time connected to the OEMs, like OnStar, but on steroids, really, is what it would be. And the answer was, indeed, the guess was from the past Senator Cutterback, Kearney, Nebraska, Jim, who is a friend of ours, and he guessed 4,000. I don't know where he got that number, but sir, you are right on the money. It was 4,000 gigabytes per day, each day, that an autonomous car would use. I found that very interesting, and there's a breakdown. I know there's a mathematical formula as to how they figured that, and I gave that to you with regard to how much data is used for the radar per second, and the cameras, and the sonar, GPS, and LIDAR. And that just goes to show you that if you've got 1,000 cars out there, each one of them using 4,000 gigabytes, the infrastructure required to make that work can be taxed. And so that shows you the future. So if you're looking for a job, maybe you should get into the infrastructure of streaming, whatever that's called, whatever IT the industry that is. So congratulations, Senator Jim in Kearney, Nebraska. I will open now the phones up to those of you with regular car questions or oil questions or fuel questions. I do have some information about the percentage of knock retard. Gosh, that's a little technical too, but that's okay. That's all right. Knock retard, what does that mean? When your engine pings, there are speakers mounted in the engine. There's a fancy name for them. The little started off as piezo speakers, and they sense a certain harmonics and vibration, and that goes directly to, is fed directly to, that means the noise, the pinging within the engine, to the computer, and the PCM retards the timing. What does it mean you retard the timing? It means that you take the power away from the engine because you back the timing down so that you don't get any detonation, because detonation is pinging. And detonation, while detonation doesn't necessarily harm an engine like pre-ignition destroys an engine. And pre-ignition can destroy a healthy engine almost instantaneously, whereas detonation, an engine can live with a certain amount of detonation for extended periods of time. Not a healthy situation, so what manufacturers do is they put ping sensors, knock sensors they're called, in engines, and then whenever the engine is under duress, under a load, and the octane of the fuel cannot sustain the pressure within the cylinder, it will ping, and when it does, the computer will change the timing on that cylinder. And if you have 8 cylinders, the computer has the capability of changing the timing on 8 cylinders in a row. Now you think about it, you're going down, turning 3,000 RPM, and the computer can adjust the timing on the fly as you drive. That's true. So what's the secret there? Well, the secret is to use a higher octane fuel if you're looking for performance. And to that end, here's something that's really interesting. At E15, which is, well actually this is E10, at 10%, which virtually every gallon of gasoline sold in the U.S. has 10% ethanol in it. So at E10, knock retard reaches some 74%. and that's what the percentage of knock retard is used. How can we bring that percentage down? Because the lower you can keep the knock retard from being used, the more performance, and the more performance, the better the MPG, and the higher the torque. And the torque is MPG, not horsepower. Horsepower is top speed. Torque is that seat of the pants pull, and that's where you get gas mileage. With E30, and by the way, ethanol has a 113 octane rating. So what the oil companies do is they take 84 octane fuel, not a great quality fuel, and they add 10% ethanol, and that bumps up the 84 octane to 87 octane just with 10%, and that makes it legal to sell on the pumps. And manufacturers make engines like Ford's EcoBoost that I'm certainly a fan of, and those engines actually will retard up to 30 degrees after top dead center, and timing should be before top dead center. 10, 15 degrees. Sometimes it depends. The faster the piston goes, the quicker you have to light off the fire so that you have it all burned by the time the piston reaches the top dead center and just shortly thereafter. So if an engine is idling, it may idle at 15 degrees before top dead center timing. That means that the spark plug fires at 15 degrees before top dead center. But if the engine turns 3,000 RPM, the piston's going a lot faster. So you got to bump the timing to 30 degrees before top dead center. Ford's EcoBoost actually corrects that issue when ping happens and retards it all the way to 30 degrees after top dead center. What's the bottom line? With E30, because E30 has such a high octane rated, it brings a 74% knock retard all the way down to 15%. And 15% is almost nil. What does that mean for you? It means increased gas mileage, right? And you say, well, wait a minute. I thought that ethanol got worse gas mileage. Ethanol has less energy than gasoline. That's true. However, it's all about optimizing the engine for the right fuel. Just like you wouldn't expect. Diesel fuel has a lot higher energy rating than gasoline. But you wouldn't put diesel fuel in a gasoline engine and expect it to work. Why? Why not? Because the gasoline engine's not optimized. So therein lies the real facts about when someone says, well, I've got a flex fuel vehicle with E85, which is only about E51% or E55% ethanol, and it gets worse gas mileage. True, it costs less, so it's not miles per gallon, it's miles per dollar that you should look at. But you do lose some MPG. Why? Not only because the fuel doesn't have the BTU content, it's because the engines that are flex fuel are not optimized for E85. It's just they're hardened. Some of the interior of the engine's hardened. Some of the hoses are hardened. And you say, well, gosh, how much? Less than $100 worth. That's right. Take a regular GM car that is a non-flex fuel car and make it a flex fuel car, and the manufacturer spends less than $100 to make that happen. So is that engine optimized? Well, no. How would you optimize it? You'd increase the compression ratio, just like Infiniti has done with their engine that is a VC-T engine, variable compression, turbocharged engine. That engine physically has 8.1 to 1 compression ratio when the turbo is being used. But what about when you're up and cruising on the highway at 65, 70 miles per gallon, per miles? What about that? 70 miles per hour. It has 14 to 1. Here's an engine that has, how can you possibly convert an engine from 8 to 1 to 14 to 1? They do it physically with a mechanical shaft that changes the place of the piston, and it makes the piston travel closer to the head, which increases the compression ratio, and therein lies the secret. So you're cruising down the highway with 90 octane, high octane ethanol with 14 to 1 compression ratio, and you're getting a lot of gas mileage. But then you're in town, you need power, or you're on the on-ramp, you need power to accelerate, So you kick in the turbo, but you can't have 14 to 1 and the turbo boost, because then you'd have 50 to 1, which that's violent. So what do? You reduce the compression ratio, because compression ratio is how much air you can cram into a think of a balloon. How much air can you get in a balloon before it goes pop? Well, how much air can you get in a cylinder before it goes pop? So if you got a turbo, you're forcing more air in that cylinder. Therefore, you have to have a lower compression ratio. So what's the answer? It's a compromise. Folks, it's all compromise. Gasoline's all compromise. If you want to make the perfect car, and there's no such thing as perfect, but pretty close, as Dr. Charles and I were talking before the show, there's nothing perfect. It's pretty close. If you compromise, you'd have to have about 3 different grades of gasoline. You'd have to have a low-octane gasoline that would light off when the engine is cold and all burn. You'd have to have a little higher grade gasoline for cruising down the highway, and you'd have to have a real high-octane gasoline for those acceleration, or to pass on a 2-lane road, or to tow with. Those are all things that come. Well, how do you have your cake and eat it too? I don't know, but there's something American about doing it, and I love it. Let's go to Texas. Walter, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Hello, Bobby.
Hey, sir, how are you doing?
All right, I have a question about this autonomous driving idea.
Okay.
I'm 80 years old. I started driving a John Deere tractor and pickups off in the farm when I was 12 years old.
Okay.
And part of what I am today and how I look at the world and how competent I feel about doing anything is tied up largely in driving automobiles. What's going to happen 10 years from now to young folks that sit in the car and read the paper while the car is taking them where they want to go?
Well, you, sir, and I are in lockstep. I've asked that question multiple times from people smarter than I, and that's easy to find someone, and people that are not as knowledgeable about autonomous cars, just to get a general opinion. And folks, you have plenty of time to get in. I'd love to hear your opinion. But Walter, there's a stat that I quote, and I've got to find the where I got this stat, because I put it in my mind, and every time I say it, my wife says, "Are you sure that's correct? That sounds unrealistic." The stat is that 50% of all 19-year-olds in the country today do not have a driver's license. And I may be wrong there, but I did read that, and I was so taken aback by that, because that's what you're talking about. In essence, I was so surprised by that it stuck. And I'm wondering if it was 15%, and in my mind has dreamed up this 50%, but I know it's more than 15%. So I promise you folks and myself that I'm gonna research that this week and find out what the age limit is and what the amount of driver's license. But Walter, there's no question about it. People don't need to go to their friend's house because they Skype their phones. This is a common issue. In fact, I can watch people drive and know when they're on their phones driving by the way they drive, and it hasn't been but 10 years ago that you would consider that person intoxicated. We all know this. This is not. I'm not making this stuff up. We all know this. I recently saw a car, and I was in the same lane, so I watched this car because I didn't want that car to run into my car. And that is a concern to me, because I drive a nice car, and I don't want someone texting to run into my nice car. This person driving this car ran up on the center of the median, and the car went up on the curb and got up on the grass, and then they corrected. And I said, well, wow, this wasn't, maybe, they just weren't paying attention. All of a sudden, it goes into the right lane and then back to the left lane. And I said, what are they doing? Well, I already knew what they were doing. I pulled up, after this car had stopped, I felt more safe by staying behind this car than I would going in front of this car, unless I was on a road that I could not only go in front but get on out of its way. And but I don't stick around cars like that. And sure enough, there's a person over there texting. Just yesterday, I watched a man, and this is not just young people. I watched a man in a truck in front of me, and he was looking down at the passenger seat. I don't know what he was doing, but he was looking down at the passenger seat, and he was going like 12 miles an hour in a 35 mile per hour zone, and he was holding me up and 5 cars behind me. So to that end, I do know this: autonomous cars are safer than we drivers. I drove a car when I was 13 years old. I'm with you. I understand that. I could do that because I'm old enough that I got away with that. You couldn't do that today. But the bottom line is, I don't know the answer. I just know that society changes and we have to change with it. But that's a very good question. Maybe I'll do a show on that and get more opinion. Hey, Walter, thank you. Sir?
I know, Bobby, that I know everything that's going on around me when I'm driving a car.
I'm with you.
And that also applies to when I'm in my woodworking shop. I know exactly what's going on with my tools, and I avoid situations that are going to get me in trouble.
Yes, sir. I'm with you 100%. I know left, right, front, and rear. I'm anal about that when I'm in my automobile. And the only time that I feel vulnerable is when I'm stopped at a traffic light, because there's nothing you can do when you're stopped at a light and somebody runs into you. I mean, that happens. So anyway, with that, thank you for your call, Walter. And folks, thank you so much for tuning in today. And Dr. Stomatologist Charles was with us today. Thank you, Doc, for coming out. Folks, I'll see you same time, same station next week. Likis, you'll love us.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
This Tire Maintenance Minute is brought to you by General Tire and the Ultimax RT43. Featuring replacement tire technology, the Ultimax RT43 will actually let you know if it's worn or needs to be replaced. Today's vehicles run on the sum of their parts to make themselves whole. Your tires deliver key information for things like traction control, analog brakes, and crash avoidance systems. Tires are a critical component for all-wheel drive vehicles, making sure the all-wheel drive system works properly to keep you safe. Changing just 2 tires instead of 4 can compromise a number of things, including all-wheel drive operation, and in some vehicles even cause damage and wear to the all-wheel drive components. If you do replace just 2, make sure to put them on the rear of the vehicle. Also, always check tread depth and condition, and make sure you rotate your tires at required intervals. General Tire's Ultimax RT43 actually extends the life of the tire by visually identifying vehicle misalignment. Talk about a smarter tire. Visit GeneralTire.com for more details.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
P-Ricey Outfitters, I'm Tina. How can I help you?
I'd like to place an order.
Great. Which item?
The cotton roll neck sweater, large.
Okay. Periwinkle loaded or caramel?
The caramel, please.
The what?
I'd like it in caramel.
Oh, the caramel?
Yeah, that's what I said, Tina.
Actually, you said caramel when it's pronounced caramel.
Can't we just call it yellow?
No.
Everyone knows the best part of a Milky Way. They just don't know how to say it. After all, it's our caramel.
It's caramel.
Ugh, that makes a Milky Way great.
You start my morning, you still